Well, it's fucking true. It's fucking true. It's fucking true. It's fucking true.
Truth is such a rare commodity. By truth, I don't mean things like facts, events, dates, or anything that could be considered part of an objective reality. I mean a person that, in a moment of deep introspection, reveals something about themselves that is unquestionably, unequivocally true, in a way that is just as shocking to them as it is to those who witness it. In recent years, speedrunning, the hobby in which people try to beat video games as quickly as possible, developing and using intense strategy and sometimes glitches to achieve as perfect a run as the game will allow, has reached mainstream popularity critical mass, with channels like Summoning Salt, Easy Escape, and Carl Jobst, which chronicle the history of or historical moments in speedrunning. It's exploded in popularity. Speedrunning has made a massive imprint on the wider gaming community, going from a fairly niche sect comprised of only the most dedicated gamers to something that nearly all fans of video games know about to some degree. But despite gaining this notoriety and acclaim, speedrunning remains, at least in my opinion, the sausage of video game entertainment, something that most people enjoy when placed in front of them in a stripped-down, easy-to-consume format, but not something they would probably enjoy watching as it's being made. Just as you wouldn't want to watch the journey from the pig to your plate, because this process is something too horrible for most to consume. Because behind that frame-perfect world record run lies hours, days, weeks, months, and even years spent crafting it. And all of that time spent on perfecting one single run is time spent neglecting everything else in the runner's life. Relationships, career goals, family, sleep, hygiene are all put on the back burner in pursuit of this one thing, which at the end of the day is to be the best at something almost no one knows or cares about. And whether anyone is willing to admit it or not, when you tune into Summoning Salt or Games Done Quick, what you are seeing is the sausage, not the grind, and all of its accompanying horrors. Now you might say, wait, that's not fair. Those players are all streamers with loyal viewers who tuned in to watch the ups and downs that went into it. And that's true, but you have to understand the difference between the speedrunning community and the normies. You know, the overwhelming majority of people. I consider myself a normie and fondly remember discovering Game Demos Archive maybe 15 years ago. Know what I did? I downloaded some videos of the records for some of my favorite games, watched them, and moved on. It was a neat little thing for a neat little amount of time, and that was it. And that's what I imagine the overwhelming amount of speedrunning viewers think of speedrunning. They will never see it the same way you do. To nearly everyone, they're only here for the sausage. And if you think that's unfair, well, it can only get worse, because what I've just described is probably the most charitable interpretation. Because deep down, I think a good percentage of people watch speedrunning because speedrunners are themselves spectacles. Hey everyone, step right up and gaze upon the man with absolutely no life. Watch as he spends his days incessantly pushing buttons with no self-control, looking for frivolous validation from a clock, ironically, with no regard for the clock ticking down the march of time towards his own demise. Step right up and watch as they torture their souls into nothingness. And if you think that's unfair, well then I have good news for you, because it's just my opinion. And the thing about opinions is that they're just that, opinions. They're thoughts, and they don't themselves change anything about the real world aside from other thoughts. So if you hear them and you think they're untrue, useless, or stupid, well then that shouldn't affect you in the slightest, right? Well, that's not entirely true either, because opinions can be incredibly powerful, never more so than the ones you have about yourself. No matter how hard we try, we cannot outrun ourselves. That part of us that is always watching, always judging, making assessments of everything we do, have done, or plan to. It knows all the parts of ourselves that we hide from others, all the things we wish we'd done differently, wish we'd never done, or would like to do in the future, but that part of ourself knows that we probably won't. We can run from it, hide from it, satiate it with platitudes, bargaining, denial, or any of the myriad rationalizations that isn't there and it isn't true, but it is. And you know it. And every once in a while, that part of you breaks through all of that bullshit and tells us just what it thinks of us. White Goose is a streamer and long considered one of the best GoldenEye speedrunners in the world, and he is about to have one big old steaming opinion for all his fans to witness.
How many hours of my life have I wasted playing this fucking piece of shit goddamn game just so I can get world records and feel good about myself? It's a fucking joke. That's the only reason people speedrun, really, is so they can, like, get a world record. Because, like, you know, no one who speedruns is a fucking millionaire. you know, fucking hot bitches and like doing actually important things in life. Everyone who speedruns is a degenerate, and getting world records is the only way they can feel good about themselves. And like, how many fucking hours of my life have I wasted doing that bullshit? It's so stupid. It's fucking pathetic.
Truth is such a rare commodity. By truth, I don't mean things like facts, dates, events, or anything that could be considered part of an objective reality. In truth, I mean that moment of deep introspection that reveals something about ourselves that is unquestionably, unequivocally true. This was White Goose's truth spilling out onto a stream. It was that part of himself he had always and will always try to run from. And in a moment of frustration, it caught up to him, seized the microphone, and took back control, if only for a brief moment. There's a kind of beauty in that. I mean, it's such a rare thing to witness that you have to appreciate it. A lot of people were upset by this clip, and it's easy to understand why. Because even though this was a man who was clearly venting his frustrations about himself, his life, the choices he had made and would continue to make, what a lot of people saw and heard in this moment was themselves. They heard that part of themselves that they were running from, like it had grabbed the microphone, and so they wanted to suppress it the way they suppress it in themselves. The world can be a cruel place, this much we know, but it never seems quite so cruel as what we see when someone reflects and reminds us of the horrors that lurk within our hearts.